Hey, it's Matt with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Tuesday. It is August 31st. This will be our chart lesson for today, and this is going to wrap up another month. Believe it or not, tomorrow is September 1st. So interesting how fast time has gone by, but as you can see, as we've gotten back into the fall, the volatility's definitely picked up. The volume's picked up. Whether or not this is going to continue, we'll have to see. But for now, we've actually got some movement. We didn't get a lot of movement today. It looks like there's a lot of volume, a lot of bars, but it's mostly sideways. We had this big sell-off early on, and we opened here, and that left. I can't remember if that left. It didn't leave a gap today. Yesterday, it left a very small gap that we filled pretty quickly. We had to come back down to here. Actually, maybe we filled that today. I think we missed that yesterday. Let me just go back and look. We opened here yesterday, and the highs were right here. So between that black line I just put across there and the yellow line was the gap. And you can see we didn't quite make it right here. We missed it by just a couple of ticks. And we tried today. This was as low as we got here, and we still didn't fill that gap. So we still got a gap there. And I think there's another one from back on the 22nd or something like that. And charts don't like those gaps. Also, there's the fact that we just came through the 4,500 level, and generally prices will fluctuate around that level up and down a few times before they'll finally settle down and take off. Those are very emotional levels, and you can see I figured we'd probably try to trade back to that 4,500, but we didn't quite get there. I think 45.12 or so was probably as low as we got. I'm not sure exactly what that low is right there. Let's just look at it. Well, that low is 45.12.50, so I was pretty close there. But anyway, you can see the big sell-off, and we just kind of went sideways. And we got really tight after about lunchtime. I mean, there's not much happening there after lunch. You can see that. We got stuck in this red channel here for a little while, then here, and before we finally traded up, and we turned down at the same resistance spot again. So pretty interesting day. Without a lot, we had enough movement to where there was some trades in here. There's quite a few trades in here, as you'll see. Some of these are a lot more. Several of these are reversals, and you see a lot of those on a day like this, and they're a little more advanced, so most of you aren't going to want to trade those, especially new chart traders. I try to tell people to concentrate on the easy stuff, and on a day like this, you really just need to look to short the lows and sell the highs, and same thing within these smaller channels here, or smaller ranges. But that's really the only way to trade these, and so if you stuck to that, you didn't get quite as many trades, but you'd have still had a couple. So, but let's zoom in here and talk about these trades, and we'll wrap the day up. But 7 o'clock came right down through here, and you just don't really get an opportunity to go short in here. Then we bounce. Of course, at this point, this yellow channel is what we're playing here, so you're still looking for shorts here. And we actually get two legs up and turn back down, but you just don't get a setup up here. You just get congestion. It drops on down. You get a lower high here, which I just think it's a little early. It's on an engulfing bar as well as that. You might take a trade here because you're definitely looking for prices to try to make a new low, which we made way over here. So, and at this point, I was also looking at the blue channel. But in the end, I mean, you can see it comes back into play here, but it just didn't play out really. After that, we really got stuck in this green channel. So, but the yellow channel plays out, you get the break and move to a new low, and then we reversed and corrected after that. So this definitely played out. Again, you might take a short there. I think it's a little aggressive, especially with it being an engulfing bar. You might just go short right there. That's a first entry short. But technically, you could call that. It's not really a second entry because your second entry is right here on this Notice the new low and you work it up and you get a first entry, then you correct right here and make a higher low. So that's technically your second entry. But all that looks like one move pretty much. We didn't make a new high. So you might even look at that as a second entry short with that big bearish bar. Um, I don't like it. I think that it's a little bit too congestive looking with that being an engulfing bar as well. And it would have worked, but you see it doesn't go far before you just start going sideways. But what you could look at is you try to go higher once, twice, three times. There's also a hidden second entry in here, and there's a couple different ways to look at that. But that's such a bearish bar, and it is congestive. But you can see the EMA pointing down and prices are turning down off of these time, and there's still room to these lows here, and you're looking for a new low technically. And so you may take that. I actually like this trade better than that trade just because of the triple test. Again, it's congestive, but prices are trying to go lower, and you're expecting it on a trend that strong, you're just about going to get a new low. The question is it going to go higher and correct some first? But we already had this bearish leg down, and you're actually looking for at least a measured move from there, which puts us way down here. What you see, we actually went a little bit further, but you can see the support we got right there, the buying coming in. We actually broke a little bit lower before we bounced. So that would have given you a nice target, and that might have kept you in this, but just making sure you got room to get out for these lows, that's the main key. And past that, I wouldn't enter in here. And we end up getting a break lower that fails. This is not really a range at this point. We're looking for a new low. So this, I wouldn't be looking at this green channel yet. Of course, you want to respect that overnight low. You always do that. But I wouldn't be treating this as a failed break lower yet. So, but what you get is you get a overshoot, a break, and you tried to go lower twice and it fails. I like buying that just to ride it up out of there, and especially after the measured move and shooting a little further. It takes it a little while to take off, but you probably only get a scalp out of it. You come back with another higher low right here, but that's just a first entry. And if you drew this channel, you can clearly see the midline. So it's the fact that we're respecting it right there, not closing through it, is a concern about going long. So I don't think you can get any more longs. Then you come up here and it turns down and confirms that trend line. Then you make a lower high, and then you get the reversal. I like going short right there. I actually think you were okay to trade this as an engulfing bar, but most of you need to be real careful with that. Because you'll get burned on that. So if you enter this on the engulfing, you want to put your stop up here until this bar closes so you know where the high is. And it took it a minute, but it drops on down, and of course it bounces right there, and now it's starting to look like some support. You get a higher low here, but that's too congestive. And then you get a reversal here when it breaks higher. I like going long there. Just make sure you got room back to this trend line, which you do. So that's a fairly decent setup, and you don't expect that we're going to go higher here, but we do. And there's another second entry right here. I didn't mark this one, but it's another possibility because this channel is still in play. Notice we come down and you go first entry and you pull back and you go second entry. So when it breaks higher there, but that's congestive. You got the two bar matching high, and you can see it pulls back before it goes higher. It's another one you could argue for that you might take. I think it's better left alone. And then you run up, and then if you just by waiting now, you probably get stopped out on this one if you had a run or anything. But if you just wait a minute, you get another second entry, and this one takes off. And this is a much clearer, better second entry. And you get a good signal bar there. Just go long. And you could have traded this on as an engulfing bar, but I would have just waited. Go long right there. This one anybody could have traded. And you're looking for a new high on this. And you got plenty of room. So this turns out to be a nice move. And then we get stuck in this. Notice you make that high, you test it once. You've already had your break here and a couple of legs up to a new high, and you make a double top, and then you come back and you test it for a third time. But again, it's kind of congestive. It's above the EMA, so you got to go short right into that. Just, it's not a great place to enter. But with that many tests, if it breaks lower, it's probably going to go lower. At least it's each time it's come back down to here, and you can see it's been a little congested up there. So the selling's really strong right in there. So there's some evidence that it'll take a minute, but push back down. So you may take that trade. And some of you may even consider that long, but we've already got a break and a few legs up, and we had this is where the last resistance was, that double top. And so after finding resistance there again, I don't know if I'd risk a second entry right there. And you probably would have got burned on that. I don't know if there's enough to get out of that or not. I don't like it for the reasons I just talked about. So you would have got burned on that. So if you put your stop below that low right there. So good. That's a good reason to skip that one. Just not a good setup. So we've already had like I said, we've already had a break and a couple of legs up and then a double top, and we're pushed right through the EMA right there fairly easily. So there's a good chance you might get a trap there. I don't like going short there either, but I don't like going long for sure. This would be the better short, and I'm not even crazy about it. And if you don't take that one, you don't get a chance to enter this because we run all the way back down to the lows. You got this channel right here. Just make it blue. And you get your break and a couple of legs down to a new low like usual, and then it bounces out of there, but we end up going into this range. You may have gone short right here. It's technically the second entry triggered on this bar right here, and by the time it comes back, let's back up here. You need to draw your little, nah, didn't mean for that to happen. I'm sorry. Need to draw your little channels here, and that's why that's dangerous. That's the first close outside, and you see it runs to a new high and then turns down. So technically that was your second entry, but you could look at this as a double bottom and go first entry, and then now that you got a new high in place, you may take that one. And there are some overlapping bars there, but there's not your small bar with no body, so it's not necessarily congestion. It's just an uptrend that's running out of steam. So you might take that one. That's another one that you could argue to be green. I don't know where gray came from. And then you make another little double bottom, first entry, second entry. And again, you got a second entry on a lower high right there. But that looks awfully congestive. I just think you're better off to sit tight. Of course, you bounce down here, but no signal bar. You turn down here, but there's not enough evidence yet right there to say, hey, this is strong resistance yet. So even though there's a second entry there, I don't think I would take it. And of course, we run down, and now you can see there's a range here. We break lower, and you get a second entry long, and notice you get a close outside, a new low. So you got a second entry long with plenty of room back to the EMA in case we're going higher. And then you come back here and you test that low and make a higher low. I like going long there. And then you get the reversal here, and you can clearly see that little channel working higher. I like going long there. That's a quick move back up to the highs. And now you got a second entry short. Notice the low, first entry, second entry. But better than that, you got a triple test of that price level now, and that's near the midline, really, of the green channel. And this actually breaks higher and turns down. You may trade that as an engulfing bar, but again, you're probably better off to wait to here. And in this case, you might drop a limit order a little higher to give yourself room to get out, just in case it bounces, which it does. Once it went into this, if I wasn't already in this trade, I wouldn't enter it, because now that looks like congestion. And you do have your no body or small body bar. You got a couple of them in there. And of course, it drops down, fails, and bounces, but you don't get a setup. Comes back up here, actually breaks higher this time, tries to go higher, move that out of the way, and then tries to go higher again and fails. So you got a double top right there. And the only reason I marked this one green is because, again, it's a little bit congested. There's not a lot of room back to the EMA, so you may have to try to use a limit order. Whether or not I would have got filled, I don't know this late. I'm not really sure. I wasn't watching it. And that was it. After that, we just went sideways into 3 o'clock. And we had a little buying spree into the close there. And that's probably all these shorts selling up before the end of the day. You'll see that a lot. So anyway, you can see really it was just a big range day. And I mean, that range is only 10 points or so. So not a lot of movement in there. But there's, like I said, there's a few trades. Some of them are more aggressive. Some of them are a little more advanced. And somebody actually asked me, well, why don't you make all the reversal failed second entries green? But because they're not really aggressive if you understand them. They're one of our basic trades, but you need to be an advanced chart reader to understand them. So, and we do have some chart readers at that level. So I like keeping them blue or red unless they are aggressive, and then I'll mark them green. So that's the reason I don't just automatically mark them green, because they're not really aggressive trades if you understand them and you're a good chart reader. So I hope that clarifies that. But anyway, I think that's going to do it for today. Not a great trading day. These kind of days are hard. I like these days where they go straight up. So much better trading. These kind of days right here, these are great trading days. This kind of day. I mean, there's some really nice trading days in there we've had. So today is not the top of the list, but there's still some good trades in here. You just have to be a little more patient. You have to be really patient because the first really red or blue trade was after 8:30. So if you start at 7 like me in most days, it's an hour and a half you got to sit there. So sometimes that's hard for people to do, especially new traders. New traders are looking for an entry on every swing. And really what you got to be able to do is back out, find these key entry points, and wait for prices to get there. And you have to be able to understand what prices are doing. And you have to be able to switch gears, because this is down strongly until here, till you get this new low. And then you get 2 legs up, which I didn't just see how close to measured legs we are. And you can see that. Went a little further, and then you really get 2 legs down again. I don't think those are going to be anything like a measured leg, but you still get them. And generally, if you don't get a measured leg, you're going to get a bigger movement in the other direction. You can see we finally broke higher and went higher here. And my guess is there's 2. I'd measure it like that, but I would also take this, and you can take this over to here and look for a measured move there, because that's where it started back up really. So technically there's 2 legs right there though, and you can see we got almost a perfect measured move on that. And there is a 2-legged correction in there, so that's probably the more accurate read right there. And then you'd probably want to take this and break it down like so, and there's 2 more perfect measured legs. So takes a little experience to get used to those measured legs, but that's generally how you do it. And the more near term you get, the more accurate they are a lot of times. So, but anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.